Hey guys, I just want to put together this quick little video. When I bought this camper trailer, there was a few things I got caught out on, not bad, but just things that you wouldn't really realize. My background, I've built a few trailers. There's one here which I've built a couple of years ago. I've built 3 or 4 trailers over my time, so I know my way around a trailer. But when it comes to a camper trailer, there's a few things that are a bit different, and it's very easy to just not see them when you're buying the actual camper. And when it comes to getting a roadworthy, using it safely, when it comes to batteries and chargers and stuff like that, you've got to be careful. So one of the first things when we got this home and opened it up, and something you might not necessarily see when you're looking at a camper, is the actual state of the battery. So I'll try and put a photo up on the video. Our batteries were pretty much the shape of watermelons, and they were AGM batteries. They just had a really hard life. They didn't have a lot of use over their time, so when they were charged, they would just basically swell up. The previous owner did mention, when I mentioned it to them, after the fact, they said, oh yeah, we did have some sort of eggy, gassy smell. Ignore the cars, we're at work doing this, so noisy truck come past. So when I mentioned to the previous owners about the state of the batteries, they had mentioned that when they were charging, they were finding like a eggy, gassy smell coming out of the camper, but didn't put 2 and 2 together. So that's the first thing that basically I was a little bit worried about, and we had to basically change. In the process, you might as well go to lithium, so we did the lithium upgrade. Another thing about these campers, they don't get used a lot, and they come with these Chinese tyres, which I'm not saying that's good or bad, but I'm saying they come with these tyres here. So the camper that we actually bought off a friend of ours, and it had been sitting for about 5 years and maybe used 3 times in the time that we'd known them. So the actual tyres have become out of round. Another truck coming past. The actual tyres have become out of round. So the first time I towed it to get some work done to it, there was a vibration coming through the car that was really quite bad. When we had a look at it, we discovered that the suspension bushes had also collapsed. Again, we looked under it when we first bought it, thought everything looked great. My mechanic mate also had looked under it, and also the roadworthy guy looked under it. No one picked up on this at all, so you can't physically see it unless you go driving with it. But basically the tyres were just loose because there was no suspension bushes in there. They just crumbled out. When we pulled the bolts out, they literally just fell onto the ground. So that was another thing you got to look out for, and you won't know until you jack the vehicle up, jack the trailer up and give it a really good working to see if there's any play in the bolts. Some other little things were things like our finger in here, or your 12-volt sockets. So these perish over time, and the rubber will actually fall off these. So I've had to go through and replace all of these throughout the camper. And another main issue is under the gas stove. So it's too hard to show you, but under the gas stove, there's actually they come out of the factory. This is a 2019 model with a rubber hose connecting up the gas internally. I'm not talking about the connection hose here, I'm talking about the actual fixed hose under here. That doesn't meet gas certificate standards now, so you have to get that replaced with a solid copper line. That was a bit of I didn't know that, and when I had my roadworthy done, that came up as an issue, and my simple roadworthy became an extra $150 more because of that issue. So that's something you do want to check when you're buying one, if that has already had the upgrade. Going forward in the later models, I'm not sure if that's changed, but that's a 2019. That's what we had. Another thing we found that's inside, there's a lot of cables that may be frayed or plugs that don't necessarily work, so you want to go through and work your way through and work out what's what. On the fridge slide, another thing that we found is on the Anderson plug inside here, I had to basically rewire this. There was, over time, the wires that actually pulled out of the Anderson plug. So on our first trip, we found that the drinks weren't necessarily cold all the time, and I couldn't work it out why, and I thought maybe the fridge had had its day, but it turned out it was just actually a loose connection on the Anderson plug. So I rewired all that, and that's all fixed. Any other issues that we found were basically minor. They're the main things. Another thing you might find is these press clips will actually, some of these will actually pull out altogether, so that side's pretty good. There might have been 1 or 2 on this side that don't necessarily work anymore because the clip has come out onto the other side of the clamp. Some of the upgrades we did was this awning. So when we're looking into these campers, the main thing everybody said was there's a divorce waiting if you want to try and put up this the factory annex with your partner. So I wanted to try and make this a pleasant experience for my girlfriend. So basically he's holding the camera laughing. We installed a instant 180 awning basically. It was quite a complex kind of a process. I fabricated up these extendable bars. It's very simple, very rudimentary, but it does the job. So these are braced off against the chassis here, and they go underneath and they attach onto the chassis underneath. This just shuts up, comes down and pops in, and you can put this awning up in about 30 seconds as opposed to probably 3 or 4 hours, you know, if you're doing the full setup with the other awning. It still does come with the side walls, and we have made a customized little customized section here. There's a full length of the whole camper, and it basically attaches to the factory awning pickup here and sits across the 180 awning with a little bit of tension. It stops any water ingressing into the kitchen or the electronics and that sort of thing. So it gives you a full weather seal. I've got a little list here of other upgrades that we've done. This one in particular did not have a solar input, so we had to put a solar input on the other side. We also added a master kill switch, so when you do kill the power here, it's still draining some type of power. So we added a shunt, which is just in here. That's our Renogy shunt. So that's actually telling us battery usage, solar or charge coming in versus going out. And it's always taking some sort of energy. So on the other side, around this side, if we come around here, we put in under there a master kill switch. You can get in on that one right there. That's also where we run our charge cable. That's going directly onto the batteries. It bypasses everything, so you can run a 5-watt lithium charger on the system while you're not using it. Roll on this side too. We also relocated there is no real home for the hot water system on these, so I attached this container here. When you open that up, you'll find the hot water system inside there. So it's nice having it in a fixed position. And then obviously we have our shower tent right next door to it. So you just run the gas line and the water line to the tap and off you go. That also saves a lot of time when setting up. And that just basically shuts down. So very quick operation. We're actually just airing this out because we had a trip last weekend in Bow Desert and the storms and hail and everything. So trying to let everything dry out just a little bit. Another thing that we only discovered when we're actually on a trip was the handbrake seemed to work fine, but it's only working on one wheel. So we were actually on our first trip parked up on a bit of a hill. I activated the handbrake, we walked away, and the trailer wanted to actually do like a bit of a rotation, and you know, there's a fair bit of weight here. So just make sure that both handbrakes are adjusted, or both shoes on both sides are adjusted perfectly. Something else, they'll tell you that this has 150 kilogram ball weight. That's a load of rubbish. So on our last trip, I weighed ours at 280 kilos. That's only with one gas cylinder and no jerry cans on the front. So you have to really be careful about your weights and the vehicle that you're towing with. We're towing with a Toyota Fortuner, and we've got airbag assists to try to help with that weight distribution. Basically, that's it. If you're looking for a second-hand Austrack, there's a couple of things that just, like I said, caught me out, and you don't want to get caught out with these things. They're all small things, but they add up to quite a lot of work when you want to get this thing ready to go away with. So good luck and enjoy your camper.